SS1 Biology. Today we are going to begin a new chapter from plant physiology session, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. You have learned photosynthesis from your lower classes onwards. From 3rd or 4th standard onwards, you are familiar what is photosynthesis and what is the significance of that process. Anyway, photosynthesis, the term we can say synthesis in presence of light. The synthesis of food, organic compounds in the presence of light is called photosynthesis. Okay, it is carried out by organisms with the chlorophyll pigments. You know they are plants. Plants contain chlorophyll pigments in definite cell organelles called chloroplast. So they can prepare food in presence of sunlight. Okay, so anyway, what is the significance of photosynthesis? You are very well familiar. The process, this process, if it's not there in the nature, we cannot live. Okay, this is the primary source of food for the entire universe. Okay, photosynthesis is the process which produces food for the whole biosphere. And all other organisms are directly or indirectly dependent on plants for their food. So this is the primary source. Photosynthesis is the primary source of food for the entire universe. Okay, the primary food source. And another major significance of photosynthesis is that this is the process which is making the carbon dioxide oxygen ratio balance in the atmosphere. That means plants consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen during photosynthesis. This released oxygen is our breathing air. That means the oxygen carbon dioxide balance in the atmosphere is maintained by this process photosynthesis. You know this earlier. Okay, so we get the breathing air and we get the food by this process photosynthesis. Okay, then we are discussing in detail about the different types, mechanisms of photosynthesis in this chapter. And before moving to that, just understand basic concepts related to photosynthesis and its history. Okay, we have defined photosynthesis as synthesis of organic food in presence of sunlight. Okay, there are so many requirements for the photosynthesis and there are so many factors favorable and there are so many factors unfavorable. Everything is being discussed. Anyway, in this class we are focusing the significance. Already we discussed what is the significance, then the history of photosynthesis, site of photosynthesis and the pigments used in photosynthesis. Then the significance we have discussed, and about the history of photosynthesis. You have learned this in your lower session, I mean the 9th or 10th standard, and you have learned as the factors affecting photosynthesis and who has proved that carbon dioxide is, how can we prove carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis, light is essential for photosynthesis. All experiments you have done in your 10th class, right? So still today we are just coming to the history. Joseph Priestley is the man who has found that oxygen is released during photosynthesis. It was experimentally proved oxygen is released during photosynthesis. And the contribution of this scientist, Jan Ingenhousz, is that he has proved that sunlight is essential for photosynthesis. Without sunlight, this process will not occur. He has proved it experimentally. Then von Sachs, Julius von Sachs, proved that glucose is produced during photosynthesis. What is the product? Glucose is produced during photosynthesis was proved by von Sachs. Then what is the contribution of T.W. Engelmann? He has used prism and split the light. Okay, and with the help of prism, when he split the light into different wavelengths, he has found that at blue and red regions of the spectrum, there is maximum photosynthesis. Okay, he has used algal filaments and bacteria for this. And in the algal filament, when the split light is given at blue light and red regions, there were more growth of bacteria. That means more evolution of oxygen at that particular spectral light. That means at blue and red regions of the light, there is more evolution of oxygen, means more photosynthesis taking place. So bacteria remain accumulated at that particular places near the algae. Okay, anyway, he has conducted experiment with algae and bacteria, and with the help of algae and bacteria using prism split light with or violet, indigo, blue, okay, green, yellow, orange, red regions of the light, when split and given, he has found that on the green algae at blue and red regions, wherever blue and red light get, there is maximum rate of photosynthesis, so maximum evolution of oxygen. And when he distributed bacteria to that experimental setup, bacteria remain crowded at the blue and red regions. That means this region there is more rate of photosynthesis. He has proved it with the help of that experiment. So what is the contribution of T.W. Engelmann? Okay, he has split the light and found that at blue and red regions there is maximum rate of photosynthesis. Okay, then Van Niel. Okay, what is the contribution of Van Niel related to photosynthesis? You know the overall equation of photosynthesis, empirical formula of photosynthesis is like this. Carbon dioxide plus water in presence of light combines to form carbohydrate and it releases oxygen. Okay, carbohydrate general formula CH2O is written. Okay, then this is the empirical formula of what? Photosynthesis. That means during photosynthesis, carbon dioxide combines with water to form carbohydrate and oxygen. Okay, then Van Niel suggested that doing experiments in purple and green sulfur bacteria, Van Niel, Cornelius Van Niel observed that it is not water used by this bacteria. They use hydrogen sulfide, so they release sulfur, not oxygen. Okay, instead of releasing oxygen, normally the plants, higher plants release oxygen, whereas instead of releasing oxygen, the purple and green sulfur bacteria, they are releasing sulfur. The reason is they are using H2S instead of water. So the H2S when is used, S is released, sulfur is released. So this equation is modified to this by Van Niel. So according to Van Niel, the formula for photosynthesis, it is different in the case of purple and the green sulfur bacteria. They use hydrogen sulfide instead of water. They use hydrogen sulfide, so they release sulfur. So the equation will be, general equation is H2A gives 2A. In the purple and green sulfur bacteria, it becomes H2S releasing S. Okay, so the general equation, typical equation is modified like this. After this discovery, it is not compulsory that the water should be taken and oxygen is released during photosynthesis. There is a change in bacteria, hydrogen sulfide is taken and sulfur is released out. Okay, so the equation has changed to this by after Van Niel's observation. Okay, this is what about the history of photosynthesis. The next is the site of photosynthesis. Where does the photosynthesis take place? Very well, you are familiar. In higher plants, photosynthesis takes place in definite cell organelles called chloroplast. Okay, photosynthesis takes place within chloroplast. A chloroplast is more or less spherical or oval or differently shaped, even spiral, discoid, different shaped chloroplasts are possible. And this type of a chloroplast is a cell organelle which has definite double-layered membrane. Okay, it has definite double-layered membrane and it has a fluid-filled matrix called stroma. The matrix is called stroma. Okay, and you study the structure detail in another chapter. Now just have an idea. Chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis and it is having a double-layered membrane and a fluid matrix called stroma, and there are many disc-like structures called thylakoids. Okay, it consists of disc-like structures called thylakoids. The thylakoid consists of membranous. Each thylakoid consists of membranous grana, singular granum. The thylakoid is made up of membranous sac-like structures called, it's parallel one above the other arranged. Membranous sac-like structures called grana. Okay, singular term is granum. So grana and stroma. Okay, the two major components of chloroplast. And in as a connection you can see some fret membrane connecting. These are called stroma lamella. Fret membrane. Stroma lamella. So just have the idea, the basic idea, the chloroplast is a differently shaped structure. It has a double layered membrane. The matrix inside is called stroma. The stroma consists of number of sac-like structures called what? Thylakoids, and each thylakoid is made up of thin membranous sac-like structures called grana. Okay, one thylakoid is connecting to the next thylakoid through some fret membrane called stroma lamella. Then understand, within the grana and the stroma lamella, there are number of chlorophyll pigments present. So the pigments are present inside the grana mainly. Okay, chlorophyll pigments are located inside the grana. So you know the reaction and the photosynthetic reaction which require this chlorophyll pigments is light reaction. You have learned already. So light reaction takes place in the granum. Okay. Whereas the dark reaction takes place in the stroma. You know that? You are going to study it in detail. Just understand the two steps of photosynthesis, light reaction and dark reaction. Light reaction requires chlorophyll pigments. These pigments are present in grana. So light reaction takes place within the grana, whereas dark reaction requires some enzymes which are located only in the stroma. So stroma is the place for dark reaction. So overall, when we speak, chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis. Grana is the site of light reaction of photosynthesis. Stroma is the site of dark reaction of photosynthesis. Is it okay? Then about the different pigments involved in photosynthesis. Which are the different types of pigments? You know, plant pigments. You know, chlorophyll. Okay, plant pigments. Then what is, you know, xanthophyll. Okay, carotenoids. Okay, these are the major pigments, you know, maybe. It's not. See, these pigments present in the plants we can very easily identify through a simple lab experiment. We need to do paper chromatography. Paper chromatographic paper we take, and here we crush the plant material, a leaf or like, then we just make it a paste, and using some solvent we make it percolating, okay, moving upward to the chromatographic paper, and as a different bands we can see the paper chromatography. Okay, so it's very easy to separate the plant pigments and study under paper chromatography. It's a simple lab experiment. Anyway, let us discuss what are the major pigments involved in photosynthesis. The major pigments involved in photosynthesis are chlorophyll. There are different types of chlorophyll, A, B, C, D, E, bacteriochlorophyll like. Okay, then xanthophylls and carotenoids are the major pigments. See, in plants, where are these pigments located? The leaf, okay, the green colored part, this, okay, pigments are common, and especially in their chloroplast, we have discussed the leaf contains chloroplast, and this chloroplast organelle, it is present. Okay, then how are they organized in the chloroplast? Are they still scattered in the chloroplast? Is there any organization for that? That's what is our next topic. See, these pigments are forming organized units called photosystems in plants. Okay, they form definite organized units called photosystem. It is in short written as PS, PS1, PS2, etc. are examples in the order of discovery. Okay, so anyway, photosystems are the organizations of pigments involved in photosynthesis. Okay, and they act as light harvesting complexes. So one photosystem itself consists of around 200 molecules of light harvesting complexes. They are the pigments. You know, pigments are the substances which can absorb light and remain in different colors. Okay, they can absorb sunlight. So see, in photosystems we can see hundreds of what? Light harvesting complexes, and they are the pigments. And in every photosystem, whether it's PS1 or PS2, whatever it is, the central molecule, there is only one chlorophyll A molecule. This is a central molecule. Okay, so in every photosystem, one chlorophyll A molecule acts as the reaction center. What is the reaction center? the chlorophyll A molecule acts as the reaction center. How many chlorophyll A molecules are there? Just one chlorophyll A molecule. Then remaining all hundreds of molecules are the other molecules. Then it will be surrounded by number of other pigments like chlorophyll B, carotenoid, xanthophylls, all such sort of pigments are organized around it. Okay, reaction center and other molecules. But maybe these molecules, this will be xanthophyle, carotenoid, chlorophyll B. Okay, xanthophyle, carotenoid, chlorophyll B, like. Okay, then chlorophyll E, C. Then what is the use of these all things? See, the acting molecule is only chlorophyll A. The chlorophyll A molecule only gets excited and it is emitting the energy for the next step. Okay, whereas all other molecules, they can trap sunlight of different wavelength and they can pass the energy to chlorophyll A. Their duty is to support. Okay, then chlorophyll A become activated. So understand, in every plant part, in the chloroplast, we can see these pigments as organized units called photosystems. This photosystem consists of hundreds of molecules of light harvesting complexes, the pigments. In every LHC, in every photosystem, one is acting as a reaction center, that is a single molecule of chlorophyll A, and it will be surrounded by number of other pigments. All these pigments acts as accessory pigments or antennae. We can call them as antennae, doing the work of an antennae. They are channelizing, collecting lights of different wavelength and giving that energy to chlorophyll A. So the chlorophyll A is the acting molecule. It is getting excited to convert energy to the next form. Okay, we will discuss it. Anyway, this is what is the structure of photosystem with its light harvesting complexes. Central molecule is chlorophyll A. The other molecules, auxiliary pigments, represent the antennae. That is what is about the pigments involved in photosynthesis. They work as units called photosystems. Okay, I think it's clear, and we will discuss the mechanism, the light reaction, dark reaction, cyclic electron transport, C3, C4, C2 cycles and everything in the next sessions. Okay, today is an introductory session and we can wind up, and this further clarification we do in the live session. And come with the doubts, prepare the notes and study. Thank you.